Alright, should be a video momentarily. Yes, okay, I believe it is a video now. Okay, officially. So, we'll just go to the fucktard and play the video. So he already made a video of this exact thing. And like Brozo, he wastes everybody's time going, look, 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 look. You know, just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. Didn't go very far because, yes, his quick release failed. You know, his poor release system. Oh, just an amazing cheater. Alright, it goes to the top. Oh, I win, jackpot. All this antics to do something I've been saying, exactly what I've been saying for 2 years. And, you know, he's showing it as if he's revealing some truth that wasn't part of the argument already. Yeah, everybody else already conceded this part of the argument. Alright, then he goes on to do this shit talking. So we'll just play the shit talking, and, you know, I will add whatever I need to in terms of a counter argument for him not to respond to, because they never respond to any of the actual arguments. So he premises this video with some fake crap that somehow I haven't already explained that. However, I haven't already provided the competing theory for their idiotic whatever, P equals 1/2 kx squared, where I've already said overtly it's a pile of shit. PE equals MGT.
One half kx squared potential energy.
Let's see. Is there any hope that you can hear that? Well, look at the... Yeah, it's pretty good hope.
1/2 mv squared kinetic energy. 1/2 CV squared.
Which is, again, just made up. So I can say, I can hold up a gallon of gasoline, and I can say to you, there's 6 million joules of energy in there. And then I could sit there and hold up a gallon of gasoline and say, there's 1.378 thousand joules in there. I can make up any number. It doesn't make any difference. No one's going to prove any of these numbers. No one's going to establish that they have any connection to reality whatsoever. Again, for 350 years, you've been saying, your people, okay, your religion says it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast. Have you ever had to prove it? No. You just believe it as some sort of idea. You know, 8-pound bowling balls have twice the energy of 16-pound balls going half the speed. You just say so. You don't have to show so. Pathetic, frankly.
Energy stored on a capacitor.
Made up number. Doesn't mean a damn thing.
There's something going on there. I mean...
Something going on there. Yeah, and it's all circular, and that's the absolute historical truth. So somebody asked in the comment section, don't know if I need to go back to that right at the moment, why they stuck the 1/2. And the 1/2 just has to do with tying up all the mathematical circularity. So it happens because they decided to create the joule, all right, and there had to be some sort of consistency between the Newton and the joule, because they were going to basically say that a joule is 10 newtons. And so that's why the 1/2 is there, is because they had to mathematically make it tie to the other crap they invent. So the work equation, MGH, and all of that crap necessitate the 1/2. You can sort of see it in the simple equation where the number is 4 times too high, the joule number, without the 1/2. So it cuts it in half. It cuts the gigantic difference between a momentum number and a joule number. It reduces it. It's for objects that, you know, you're talking about an object of twice the mass differential. Obviously, you're still not going to fix the bullet thing. You know, the 2,000 joules versus the 2 joules of the gun. You're not going to fix that with this stupid equation. So again, that's something I've drawn on the board numerous times. This butthead won't sit there and go anywhere near those arguments. So, you know, let me draw that one more time just as a context, that these are the arguments they fail to respond to. They don't say a damn thing. They don't explain to me how I'm looking at it wrong. You know, that I haven't got the facts right. Okay, nothing from them. No acknowledgement that these arguments have been made repeatedly. All right, so I can do two ways, right? I can just say, let's just imagine, you know, you take a gun, all right, and okay, the idea is you shoot a bullet out of it, and the bullet has 2,000 joules of energy, and the gun's recoil, the opposite reaction, is only 2 joules. So you have 1,000 to 1 differential. Now, Newton's third law says that's not possible. So let's first explain why everybody says there's a third law when obviously there's no third law here. Not even close. Now, yes, the momentums are equal. The MVs are equal. Newton's stupid, ignorant understanding of reality, yeah, those two are equal. But the kinetic energy that you say is the real deal, they're not nowhere even close to equality. Okay. And so the idea would be as though, so the total here is 2,002 joules. So all I do is change the circumstance a little bit. So I make a gun, okay, and then I make another gun, okay, that fits right inside of that gun. Yeah, solid barrel gun, and they have the same mass. And I put this gun inside of that gun, and then I have the same little explosion take place inside the gun. And now I have 2 joules. And I have 2 joules of energy. I have 4. Okay, 4 joules of energy. So I have the same exact explosion, and one explosion creates 2,002 joules, 4 joules, 2,002 joules, and the other explosion produces 4. Same amount of gunpowder, same amount of gasoline, same amount of fuel, and I get these 2 insanely, insipidly crazy results that don't make any sense. Now, in both cases, momentum, MV equals MV. It just works out perfect. Newton is correct. Newton gets an answer that's rational. Leibniz gets an answer that's irrational. That creates a paradox. An insane paradox, frankly. 4 to 2002. Doesn't make any sense at all. All right. So let's take that into space. All right. Oh, wow, a squirty crap. Hey. To make some more. Yeah. I have to use some friction. Okay. All right, so I'm in a spaceship. And let's play with some guns again. Okay, here's my big rocket engine. And now I want to turn. And so I'm going to do the same kind of experiment. In one case, I'm going to take the gun and let it go out the window. Okay, and I'm going to let the bullet hit the side of the ship and stick. So I'm going to put 2,000 joules of energy into the side of the ship. And I'm going to let 2 joules fly out that away. Does the spaceship, okay, like that, really rough. 2,000 joules, right? 2K. No, that's the gun, sorry. So it's only 2 joules. So let's just say I do that, and then 1 second later, just 1 second later, I reverse it. And okay, so I do the exact opposite. I let the bullet fly out, okay, with the 2,000 joules. It leaves the ship, and I keep the gun. The gun stays in the ship. So I do the 2 opposite things. 1 millisecond, I shoot 2 joules out the window. The next millisecond, I shoot 2,000 joules out the window. What do you think happens to the ship? Does it radically turn? because you sent 2,000 joules of energy out that way. I'm just like an answer. Do you think that's how it works? Or, again, rationally, Newton's momentum, mv, the mv is the same in both circumstances, so I just keep going straight because it's the same mass and velocity here as there is here. It's the same energy, same pressure, same ability to move matter in the universe. I'm giving away the same thing to the universe in both cases, and that's the truth. The 2000 is a delusion. It's nonsense. It's silly. All right. Continuing. Like I said, they will not address these arguments because they can't. Because their theory has no explanation. It can't come up with any reasoning to make what I just pointed out as imbecilically silly. It can't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. NASA knows that doesn't work. Calculating how many joules are in the thrust isn't going to do NASA any good at all. No, but they'll just keep talking as if they have the authority of evidence on their side. And they have no authority of evidence. I can make that bigger, I guess. Blow hard. Blow hardly.
Oh, it's not a conspiracy though, is it, Gary? No.
No, I didn't say it was a conspiracy, right? So again, just keep bringing up the word, and when I've totally pointed out, yeah, no, I don't think there's any other conspiracy than idiocracy. And you're a perfect example. You don't give a fuck about the scientific method. You don't give a fuck about actually having evidence. You're just spouting your religion. Somebody told you it's the truth. You don't believe it because you've seen it. You believe it because they told you it's the fact. And that's it. All right? You haven't seen the capacitor's energy do any real work in the world. You're just reciting a fable.
It's all a conspiracy of idiocracy, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And you're a perfect example of it. This is what's wrong with human beings. Unqualified morons, okay, derive simplistic and silly opinions based on way insufficient information. They don't look up Leibniz, they don't look up the Ftarded, they don't look up the experiments, they don't look up the arguments, and they just assume that, well, my champion won a legitimate fight. When no, if you go look at the actual videotape, the other boxer dropped dead of a heart attack. He didn't win nothing.
That right, 400 years of idiocracy. Nobody dared speak out.
So I never said nobody dared speak out. What I've said is nobody's looked into any of it. You all believe it on faith. They tell you there's quarks. They tell you there's Higgs bosons. They tell you there's this shit. They don't show you that there's any of this shit. Again, they show you a 19 whatever 51 image of a positron.
Nobody recognises that all these formulas are wrong, you know, they're just covering it up.
No, they've never investigated. They've never thought about it. They never looked because they don't read the Bible. They just believe. They're just believers. They show up to church and they let somebody preach a little silly fable about how they're all going to a singularity, and they don't pay any attention to any of the details. You are the definition of idiots.
You know, electricity, capacitance, the bait.
So more capacitance. The capacitor holds billions and billions and billions of joules of energy. That can't do any work. That won't do any work. Just like the bullet will not do 2,000 joules of work in the universe. It will never do that. It will not. It's no different than 1,000 people pushing with 1 pound of pressure versus one person pushing with 1,000 pounds of pressure. That's all there is. There isn't anything else. There's 1,000 times fewer atoms going this way much faster, and 1,000 times more atoms going that way much slower. And it's the same fucking thing.
basic building blocks about electronics. You
Oh
don't
yeah, so more nonsense. It's the building blocks of nothing. Everything that's built is built out of trial and error, pretty much. Nobody uses theory, okay? What they do is they use hammers and they smash things into each other. And then they make it work.
think they would really, somebody would point that out.
Yeah, you would think somebody would care that you haven't proven anything you claim to be real. That in 100 years, even though we had a perfect eclipse over North America, 12 noon eclipse, nobody bothered to repeat the unrepeated Eddington experiment. No one. 400 times better resolution from space. Has anyone occurred to anybody that maybe we should actually prove this crap that we're preaching? No. It just shows you have no integrity as truth seekers. You're seeking a fable, a wooey, faggoty little story to aggrandize your silly, stupid, putsy, robotic, moronic lives. And that's what you're using science for. You're using it as the foundation to build your little totem poles and then bow to them.
And another thing,
Oh, yeah.
you say if you double the
Yeah, I say that will you please show me it taking 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast ever in the universe. Show me one fucking example where something goes twice as fast and you show for it proof that it took 4 times the gasoline or energy to do it. Could you show me one example of that?
speed of a generator, you get double the power.
Yes, exactly. That's all you're going to get. If the water goes twice as fast, if the turbine spins twice as fast, you don't get 4 times the energy out of the turbine. Fact.
You don't. If you double the speed of a generator, you'll get 4 times the power.
So he's saying, the fact is you don't get, the power is always going to be made out of the voltage and the amperage. So it's the MV thing again. You have to have both components. You have to have amperage for the voltage to mean anything. Voltage has no power if it doesn't have any amperage. So clearly if you're going to say there's 1 volt at 1 amp, that, okay, as a unit, all right, has both components. And then if you add that to another thing, obviously it's going to have 2 masses and 2 velocity, and you're going to get a 4 number, but you've only doubled what you started with. You started with 2 units, and you're going to have add 2 units. You're just doubling it. So again, be a moron, show you're a moron, and say that somehow magically you had the voltage, but you didn't have any amperage. 0 amperage would be no energy.
Because if you double the speed of a generator, you double the voltage.
Right, and you already have to have a certain number of amps. So you could have any amount of amps at that voltage. You could have 10 amps, you could have 2 amps, you could have 5 amps. And all you're going to do is double the number of those amps. You're not going to quadruple them.
And that double the voltage will push 2 times the current through the load.
So it won't do any 2 times the current through any load, okay? It's going to be obvious that it has to produce 2 amps. It has to produce the doubling of the number of amps. And that's all it's going to matter, in the sense that your wattage is going to be based on combining your, multiplying simply your voltage times your amperage. You had to have amperage in the first instance, and all you're doing is doubling that contribution. So there is no squared term. So what you're saying isn't even true. There's no electrical formula that does that.
So you've doubled the voltage and you've doubled the current. That's 4 times the power.
So it isn't. It's only twice. The power of the voltage times the amperage the first time, and then you're doubling it, and that's all you're going to get is twice as much amperage, power in the end. You had a unit of power, you've doubled it, you have 2 units of power. You don't have 4 units of power. So what you're saying is absolutely wrong. A real electrician would tell you that's absolutely wrong. Sorry, you fail. And here you are arrogantly pontificating your fable, okay, as if you've proven it or demonstrated or you have some videotape you can link to. No, it's absolute crap, okay, and you're authoritatively declaring it and saying somebody else is wrong and you can't prove it. And you're claiming you have with this bullshit experiment that I have pointed out 4 million times. So let's use this example. All right, well, we use a similar example. So yes, I've used the metaphor of electricity. This has the same kind of components. And I've pointed out that electricity doesn't do this squaring crap. There's no mv squared of electricity. So that's just crap. Yeah, that's the one we get rid of. So I've pointed out this other simple way of understanding how you really do have to account for it. Okay, momentum's a real thing, and wattage would be a real thing, and this squaring doesn't work. It can't possibly have anything to do with the truth. So I just did this the other day, and we'll do it again. I've made this cylinder argument, okay, and it's a decisive end of this conversation kind of argument. Okay, there's no theory that you can point out to get out of it. Your stupid little inertia words can't fix it. You just factually lose. Okay, you can't use this moronic squared function crap. So this is basically the lever. Now, there might be some way you could understand it as a lever, okay, in the sense that there's some way you could understand how it works as a lever. But the idea is that this is twice the mass, twice the displacement, twice the function. All these cylinders are the same size. They all displace the same amount. And the simple truth is, I could take a 10 mass, 5 velocity, okay, object and bang it into this arrangement. These 2 cylinders will be moved by the 10 mass going a 5 velocity. And there's no option here with an incompressible fluid in here that I get any other result here. Okay, I have a 10 here of the mass is this, so I'm definitely going to have a 5 mass. This is a 5 mass, this is a 5 mass, this is a 5 mass. I'm going to have a 5 mass, and because this is displaced, 2 cylinders moving, that's this velocity, this is going to have to go twice the velocity. There's no option. This displaced 40, let's say, atoms. This will have to displace 40 atoms. This displaced them over twice this dimensional space. This one's going to have to do it under just 1 unit of dimensional space, and the velocity will have to double. So go ahead and explain how this isn't true, that this won't in fact happen, that if I go this way I lose 1/2 the energy, and if I go this way I gain 100% of the energy. I get free energy this way, I lose energy this way for no rational reason. There's no rational reason I lose energy this way. And there's no rational reason I can gain energy going this way. It's not rational. And again, I'll point out Newton, Descartes, and Galileo's MV works perfectly. This works perfect. It makes perfect rational sense. It's perfect. I get the same thing here that I had here. No matter which way I go, I get the same energy. I get the same capacity to move atoms in the universe. No problem. So explain. I mean, this isn't too complicated an idea or a drawing. So go ahead and explain how this drawing is a piece of shit. Okay, that it's made up, that it's some sort of counter-argument for the sake of counter-argument, that has no meaning, that it doesn't exactly describe reality. So explain what part of what I said wasn't real and wouldn't actually happen. Do that. Shows that you have some kind of integrity. Argue my actual argument. Not your fake notions of what my argument is. The actual argument. Or otherwise be called the liar and cheater and bum that you fucking are showing yourself to be.
Right. And you got...
Okay, we'll put him back for his final little words. Maybe I'll play it. He's got some other video I haven't watched yet. I didn't know he's going to do the same thing in 3 different videos. Say exactly the same shit in 3 different videos, apparently. Alright, so I bring this back up.
got the gall to call everybody else retards.
That's right. Because you're belligerently an asshole. No one's requiring you to be belligerently a defender of crap you have no evidence to defend. You could simply say, you know, it is fucked up that they can't produce evidence in 350 years. They say it takes 4 times the fuel and we can't show it. They say this joule thing happens and you're making more energy. Well, shouldn't I show it? Shouldn't I show it doing more work? Shouldn't I show the 10-ton train, the 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, winning the tug of war with a 10-ton train? That's just any 10 mass. 10 mass versus 5 velocity. Shouldn't I show that tug of war between those 2 objects and show how, oh yeah, the 5 mass object going twice the speed always wins decisively? Shouldn't I show that? So you're the one showing no integrity and showing you're belligerently an idiot and a moron because you don't care about having evidence. Yeah, fuck you. Alright, so he's got no comments on this video. So I suppose nobody wants to say, oh, great non-argument. That's exactly what he says. What you're showing is exactly what he's been drawing on the fucking board for 2 years. He's been drawing that exact experiment on the board. So, yeah, you're just basically saying, yes, Gary, you're right. 4 times the height, twice the weight. 4 times the height, twice the velocity. 4 times the height, twice the time. Yes, you're validating his argument perfectly. And then claiming he's wrong? Gee, that's really stupid. So here's the 3rd version. So let's see what he does here. 4 times the work equals 2x the velocity. Sure it does.
Well, I'm on a roll.
A rolling moron. A rolling turd. I think we probably need a little tiny bit more velocity. Velocity, volume. Yeah, they all have the V word in them, right? It's very convenient. Velocity, volume, and voltage.
Say, Gary, if we lift this weight up here,
yes.
what I'm telling you takes an amount of energy, you do an amount of work.
That's right, 1 unit of work. 1 unit of distance. And the fact is I can do that twice and create the compression in the spring that will make it go 4 units of distance. So I think something's wrong with your gravity theory, that each one of these units of distance are not the same if you're going a different velocity. Again, I've already drawn, the Galileo 1357 thing. It's been done over and over and over again, so I won't redundantly do that. But yes, that's the rules. Okay? The units of distance are not the same amount of energy if you're going different velocities. You will use different amounts of fuel.
Equivalent to the energy that you've put into lifting it up to there. When you drop it, you get that back minus your losses, your friction.
No, well, you don't lose much, okay, if all you did was drop it, yes, in a perfect, ideal circumstance. The same thing to gravity is a spring. It's a storage device. It gives you back what you put into it. or what you get from it, you have to give back to leave. So it's the same for objects going in and out of gravity. So I could use that as another example where they talk about things orbiting and gravity, but they never really explain the actual facts that if something outside our solar system comes into our solar system, it only has two choices: crash into the sun or leave the solar system, unless it hits something. Something has to change its speed, or it's stuck with those two. It either leaves the solar system or it crashes into the sun.
If I'm going to lift it twice the height, well, how much more work do I do to lift it twice the height?
Depends on how fast you lift it, retard. That's the whole thing being argued. If you lifted it really fast, it's a very small amount of energy per foot. If you lift it really slow, like you decide to take 10 minutes to lift it, you'll use thousands of joules of energy.
I've done that. That's one lot of energy. And I'll do that twice the height now.
Right, and physics says you're not doing any work by holding that. There's no work being done. That's what your physics says. Do you believe you're not doing any work when you're holding it against gravity? So again, I mean, this isn't a complex argument. We all experience it. You could put any weight in your hand, and I could tell you, lift it slowly. Then I could tell you, lift it quickly. And I could ask you, which one do you think was more work? And you should understand that, yes, it was a lot more work lifting it slowly.
Was that easier, the second lift? No, of course it wasn't.
So again, he's arguing as if I have ever said it's more work to lift it another unit of distance. It's just about how much time you're taking against the force of gravity. That's all there is. There's just the force of gravity and the time you take pushing against it. Period. It's all about time. That's been my argument from the very beginning, and it continues to be my argument, and you're not paying any attention to that. Even though I've said it over and over and over again. And it's really obnoxious. I mean, you're an insanely rude asshole to think anything in this video has anything to do with contradicting me. I'm the one saying that, fuckhead.
Exactly the same amount of energy or work done from there to there as it is there to there.
Well, the way you've got it drawn, it's obviously not, because those units of distance aren't the same. This is obviously a shorter distance than that distance to that distance, but whatever. Let's just assume, that's just one of your problems in life, that you can't quite draw distance lines correctly. But regardless, nothing I have said have I in any way said anything other than if you lift the same distance at the same speed, you will do the same work. If you lift at different speeds, you'll do different amounts of work. That's what I'm saying. That's what I have clearly said. You are not debunking me, moron. You're proving me right.
There to there to there to there. It's the same amount of work done in each case, same amount of energy. So if I get one unit out of energy out of that, I lift it again. You get the energy out minus the losses. If I lift it up there, I get 2 lots of energy out minus the losses. Alright?
No. Because it's going to be less time in the gravity. You still haven't figured this out, okay? It doesn't work out that way. It will not compress the spring twice as much. You're not even measuring. Alright? You're just saying. I mean, I already did this experiment. I've already put this in front of the goddamn camera dozens of times now and pointed out. It will not compress the spring. You go twice the distance, it will not compress the spring twice as much. It'll be much less than twice as much. So I've said it over and over and over and over again. You have to go 4 times the height to get twice the compression of the spring. So what is this besides a lie? I mean, it's saying I said that you go twice the height and you get twice the compression. You don't. The whole argument is 1, 3, 5, 7. You're going through the gravity quicker. You're moving through the distance quicker. It's not about distance, retard. And you're just going to keep saying it's about distance. You're going to keep telling me, okay, that it's the same gravity, the same friction. Whether the object's moving fast or moving slow, it's the same friction per foot. You're just going to keep saying it when I've overtly pretty much demonstrated that can't possibly be true. But again, you're arguing my theory by completely perverting it.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lots of energy put in to be able to get it to go twice.
So, yeah, and all I have to do is take two different masses and put them on the scale, move them 1 unit of distance each, just 2 units of distance, and I'll get the same spring compression you got from 4 times the distance. So I've already pointed this out in the other video, but fuck. How have you responded to that complete paradox? That I just take 2 units of mass and do the 1 distance thing, and I can create the same compression in the spring that'll shoot 1 unit of mass 4 distances. So I do 2 units of work and I get 4 units of energy out. Because it's not really 4 units of energy. It only takes twice the energy to go 4 times as high. That's why rockets work.
Twice as fast. You can't get around that by saying, well, if you lift it up quick, you use less energy. I mean, how?
So I keep saying that doesn't work when that's exactly why rockets try to get into space as fast as possible, is to evade gravity.
Four times as high, 4 amounts of energy, no matter how.
Okay, it's not 4 amounts of energy. So again, that's the simple argument. It can't be done that way. It's not about units of distance. It's about exposure in time. How much time are you being affected by the force will decide how much energy you need to fight that force.
Fast or slow you lift it, oh, well, you're going quick, so the gravity can't affect you. You go, come on.
Yeah, it's exactly true. It works exactly right, and it's 500-year-old physics. 500 years ago, Galileo knew it. So would you make this video mocking Galileo? He figured this out, you fuckhead.
You think they wouldn't have figured out how to use that in 20,000 years or whatever?
Okay, there's nothing to use, so go ahead and figure out how to use it, okay? There's nothing to use. So that's the simple argument. You can't. Momentum works. Your theory doesn't. Momentum landed us on the moon. Your theory didn't.
For long we've been around, there is no free energy.
And again, that's exactly what the Newtonians told Leibniz. So it's a you can say it, but clearly your theory has the bigger free energy problem. I just drew it on this fucking board. Explain how your theory makes any sense. I go this way, I make free energy. I go this way, I lose energy for no reason.
Doesn't matter how quick or slow you lift it, you put in the same work to get it to the same height, and you get that back when you drop it.
So again, he's saying I could lift my rocket off at just 10 miles an hour, take my time, just you know, no big deal, no titanium rocket engines, no big deal engineering wise, and I'll use the same amount of fuel. No, you won't, fucktard.
Come on, Gary. Grow up.
Yeah, fucking grow some character, you fucking shit-talking fuckhead. Ugh, disgusting. Creatures. I mean, these fucking creatures. Ugh. They just feed on each other. Their arrogance. Again, And they think they're fighting for something with integrity. They can't utter the words. Well, I sure wish they would have done these experiments to prove these assertions. We really shouldn't be walking around going, it takes 4 times the fuel to go twice as fast, when we don't have a single piece of experimental evidence showing that to be true. And NASA rockets sort of demonstrate it's obviously not true. But let's keep spouting it, and let's, keep bashing people with our arrogant fucking fable, our religion. Zealots, that's all these people are. Faithful zealots. Faith-based believers. Alright, so something called a DD. Thank you for these videos. So 3 redundant videos completely misparaphrasing somebody else's argument and proving pretty much them correct. So he did the experiment that I've been arguing is the actual outcome. He's showed you plainly how it works. All he needed to do was, put the double mass on and have it compress the spring twice as much and show that, look, the double mass, only 2 units of distance total, makes enough energy to shoot the one mass 4 units of distance. So he says here, you're absolutely right, Ian. Right about what? What part of the video in any way was a rational counter-argument to anything I have argued? Where was the part of the video where, look, he showed Gary to be wrong about something Gary drew on the board? Where was that part? You lying scum. Johnny Walker. Little Johnny, dick up his own ass walker. Walks funny. He's got his dick up his ass. Jesus. These people are just despicable. Alright, so that's probably enough of a video. We'll see if there's any YouTube commenters. Look at that, no one. Cool. There's only 2 viewers. That is really bad. But that's okay. Don't need to have long videos. So I'll do a 2-minute warning just in case there's somebody that can say something. But, 2 viewers, not much you can do with that. It's early, it's early. 7:30 on the East Coast, so it's not the ideal time. It's like afternoon in the UK. It would be, it'd be like the afternoon. So the Europeans should be able to show up, but apparently not. But who knows? That might be a YouTube thing. That's okay. I believe I've made the point. They probably, if there were commenters, they wouldn't be on the subject. No, there's one showed up. Pathological cynic. Oh yeah, he's the one who left the comment about the 1/2 thing, I think. Hello. Left a bit of a convoluted comment after your previous live stream. Yes, I saw it already. The essence of it was a question. Yeah, I already answered that in the beginning of this video. About why they would change the KE formula from mv squared to 1/2 mv squared back in the day. So look, this happened in the 1800s when physics was becoming very mathematical. So this is like after Maxwell. So physics was changing from a subject about physical dynamics into a subject about mathematical equations. So the reason why the 1/2 was added is because they realized the mv was squared was completely irrational. It didn't have any connection to any real units in real science. It wasn't foot-pounds, it wasn't anything. And so this is when they invented the joule as a concept, and tried to tie the, force the equations to be rational. So they didn't have a work equation, so they invented one. Okay, they didn't have even the MGH, so they invented it. And they had to tie all of those together, and the 1/2 made that tying possible. I would argue it has something to do with the same fact that if you want to turn newtons into joules, basically you say if you want to get a joule number out of your momentum number, so you do the MV thing without the square, you double it. So if you double the MV number, you go from foot-pounds to joules. So like if MV says it's 200 foot-pounds, it's 400 joules. So that's why the 1/2 is there. Alright, yes, the later formula would produce numbers half the size, but the relative difference between the different numbers it produces is the same as the simpler original formula. Yes, but obviously this only works for 2-to-1 kind of relationships. As soon as you get to bullets and guns, there's no fixing it, right? I mean, the 1/2 sort of undoes the square if you're using the number like 2 or 4. You know what I mean? You're undoing the magnitude of the distortion with the 1/2. But obviously, in the case of the bullet, you can't fix the 2,000 to 1, the 1,000 to 1 mistake. Okay, you're not going to fix that by putting 1/2 in front of it. You're still stuck with a 500. You know, you're still stuck with a gigantic differential. I guess the argument would, without the 1/2, right, it wouldn't be a 2,000 joule differential, it'd be a 4,000 joule differential, right? So if I made the example of the gun inside the gun, I'd get 4 joules, and then when I did the bullet in the gun, I'd get 4,004 joules, and so I'd have a 4,000 joule differential between the power of the explosion. In one case, the explosion only has 4 joules of energy. In the other case, the explosion has 4,004 joules of energy. Completely irrational, nonsensical, crazy, batshit, loony, nutty, fucked-hearted crap. And they will not respond to that argument. They will not explain how one person, one thing moving 1,000 miles an hour has obviously more energy than 1,000 things moving 1 mile an hour kind of thing. You know, they'll never fix that argument. They'll never explain how that makes sense. I mean, they want work done, right? And you're going to hire the workers on the street somewhere. You're going to pick up some workers. They're basically really saying to you, okay, that one guy's offering you 2 10-ton trains going 5 miles an hour to do your work, and the other guy's just offering you 1 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour, and they can't figure out that, boy, those 2 10-ton trains is a real bargain. I mean, it's like they can't bet on the right horse here, right? One horse has 2 legs, one has 4. You know, it's just like a baseball team, you know, professional baseball team playing, you know, whatever. Some 7-year-olds. So we'll give you a couple of minutes. See if you can interact in some constructive manner that will provoke me to remain here. And such. Provoke me. Come on. I guess I could just slide this chat thingy over. Yeah, there you can see it. Barely, but you can see it. So something happens. Something has to happen in that little box, or I'm leaving. Yeah, so. So it is nice to see that, this guy can actually do some experiments that look a little better than Brozo's, but they only look better. Unfortunately, they're not actually better. Let's see. Well, don't has much to add for now, but we'll be watching in the future. Yeah, so that's fine. Like I said, you're not obligated to, say right, who's wrong. My only argument would be is that you should be acknowledging at least that, gee, it'd be nice if there was actual evidence, that we could just follow the evidence. Wouldn't that make life so much easier if we could just follow the facts, follow the evidence? It's a court case, and you're going to convict somebody of murder, and you're sitting here saying, well, I'd like them to have a fingerprint, I'd like them to have a murder weapon, I'd like them to have something besides just a story. Yeah, they have a story, but, I don't have any reason to believe this story because that other story seems pretty good too. Just to acknowledge that science should be better than that. Science that these obnoxious, arrogant fucktards will tell you must believe to be a reasonable person, right? There's good reasonable doubt regarding kinetic energy. It is not it's not a beautiful history of a theory. It's a terrible history of a theory. It has nothing going for it. It has a bad history and no evidence. That's a pretty bad theory then, right? You really don't want a theory in that kind of circumstance. A bad history and no evidence? That sounds like a religion. Oakley Doke. So, till the next time and such, this has been a draftphysics.com and a debatephysics.com also video presentation. Till the next time, when let's see if they can respond to anything I'm actually saying and actually counter argue and show how I drew something wrong. Right? All we're asking is, look, there's the drawing of the correct model. MV works. It works. Your theory doesn't work. Will you explain why I'm fucking up because I don't understand how MV really doesn't work and your theory does work? Please explain. Okay. But they won't do that, fucking bastards.